Hi, welcome. Thank you for joining me tonight. We have our present time healing tonight in the sanctuary. Yay! I've been thinking about this all day, and the way that we're going to do the healing tonight is going back through 2020. And we're going to do it, or the way that I'm going to do the healing for you is month by month. So I'm going to work this healing on a timeline. For those of you that want to do this at home on your own, all you have to do is put a timeline up and use a rose to mark yourself on the timeline. And you can ground that rose and move the rose from the end of last year on the timeline to present time. And that's kind of how I'm going to be doing it for the sanctuary tonight. I'm going to be working off a composite of everybody in the sanctuary and looking at a timeline too. So I'm going to go ahead and set the energy for the healing tonight with a prayer. As we cleanse and heal the temple of the soul, may it be with the blessing of divinity, that it shine its countenance upon us and bring us peace in body, mind, and spirit. Amen. All right. Going to get started right now. Oh, and I should say, I'm just going to be communicating to you as if it's one-on-one, because the composite that I work off of has a little bit of everybody in it. So it's actually made up of what's called your matching pain picture. So that's how I know what energies to clear that will work for everyone. Okay. Setting up the timeline right now for the energy of 2020 and bringing everyone in the sanctuary, moving them on the timeline and bringing you all into present time. In January, there was a lot of green energy for new growth, but then there was, towards the end of January, there's a lot of gray and white energy, and it's the beginning of anxiety. And if you all think back, that's when we first started getting a little bit of information about COVID. And energetically, it starts mid-January. Like the anxiety, the energy of COVID actually starts prior to that, but the anxiety that I see in the group as a whole, and that's what is being released right now. It's a very thick, heavy energy that looks like it makes you feel heavy and kind of weighs your body down, heavy walking with this anxiety. Then as January moves into February, there's a little bit of hysteria in February. That's a white energy. There's also elements of time, like in January and February, not having enough time being still being at a pace where you're rushing. That's coming out. It's interesting to work this on the timeline, because by clearing energy in January and February, it's releasing energy on the back end. And later on, it's showing me where later in the year there's panic and pandemonium. So it's kind of starting to release energy from the whole year just by starting at the beginning of the year. That's good news. Yeah, it's really interesting. There's a lot of frenetic energy back in February already starting. That's being grounded. You're being moved through that as the kind of the chaos is what I see. The beginnings of chaos is getting grounded. And in March, the energy starts to look like mud, like green mud, and that is being released. It looks like March is when everything slowed down because the energy drops dramatically in March, and there's a real heaviness, like brown energy being cleared. And in March, I see the very beginnings of a long streak of depression energy that I'm going to clear. You know, there are many different reasons for this depression. A big reason is the lack of movement, just the lack of mobility and the containment of people is what I see for you. Part of this healing is where you're getting space created within your own universe, within your own aura, so that even though you still might not have all the mobility that you used to have, you still will have the space and freedom within your aura. There's a really beautiful gold coming in for January, February, and March. Those 3 months are filling up with gold. In April, I hear like the energy of groans, like the inconvenience, the trauma, the drama of COVID hitting. By April, the energy is quite thick. It's almost a solid white that's being cleared from the timeline. And like I was saying, I hear a lot of like groaning, moaning, and that's, I'm not talking about like COVID patients. I'm talking more about like the energies that I hear of just complete discomfort and everything getting stirred up and rattled around. Oh, that's this April is the month where a lot of panic started coming in. Pandemonium and panic. And as I look at the timeline, as I'm doing the healing, it stretches out, the panic stretches out for June, July. Looks like about July or August we got over the panic. a lot of energy and pictures around isolating and, pain pictures about how hard that can be to isolate yourself from others and not have full communication or touch or feel. And I see that starting in April. There's also kind of the energy of people questioning themselves and their own information because we have something brand new that we've never had on the planet before. And so I see individuals questioning whether their information is good enough for them. So I'm clearing that invalidation. May, June, and July have a black streak through them. And that is a destroy energy. What I'm doing is showing you on the timeline how to find your neutrality to that destroy energy. I'm also working to help clear it so that you can move through it. May, June, and July are kind of lumped together because they're very similar, is what I see energetically. And there's a lot of heavy energy in those 3 months. I wish I had a brighter scenario to be telling you. 2020 really was a rough year. So as I look at the energy, there's an awful lot of dark, heavy energy that's being worked on to give this a healing. That's starting to come out now. It looked like a black streak on the timeline, but as it breaks up, it comes out as a purple energy, that destroy energy, and that is breaking up and dissipating. And what I see in May, June, and July is a lot of people matching at hopelessness. And so there's a lot of that energy that is being grounded. And I like what's being replaced. Optimism, like a lot of sunshine and optimism is coming in to replenish that month, those months. There's an interesting and I think a really lovely energy that kind of floats along the year, starting in about May. And it has to do with an awareness of your fellow man and how an awareness of our fellow our fellow neighbors really becomes prevalent in the latter part of the year. So that's a really nice gold energy that kind of floats above the timeline. It's like the energy of giving your friends and neighbors a spiritual hello. And then in July, what's getting cleared is a numbness where everything had sounded so awful for so long. Everybody was just going numb. And so that energy is being cleared. There's also a lot of family energy that got lit up in 2020 with everybody staying at home more. And I see that in the summer months. Now, if you live alone, this may not have affected you, but for people that had to, for those of you that had to bring your children home to school them and had to come home from work, there's the energy of not having any space, not having enough space in your private home. And I'm addressing that right now. There's a lot of compassion showing up on the second half of 2020 on the timeline. Working on July and August right now. August grounded really easily, and there was a lot of creative energy in August. The energy of September is kind of dark, but by the end of September, it opens up. I want to clear that whole month, but it's interesting because the month starts out really dark and then it kind of has a hollow spot and it opens up. A lot of the energy of frustration, where people, where you're getting like fed up with all of the inconveniences. That's what I see going on in September, where the energy is really dark and heavy. Working on some depression in October. There's a little bit of playful energy in October, but it's kind of interesting because I really can see the depression in October as well. Yeah, like in October, there's a little bit of play around Halloween time, but other than for that, it was a little heavy. There's a lot of movement in November. Things started picking up. There's a certain level of enthusiasm that started coming back. Energy starts moving again. In December, there's a lot of emotions, a lot of anger, frustration. It's interesting because I see this in everyone, feeling like you're not being heard, that your voice isn't being heard. And in December, there's a lot of sacrifice energy. Um, there's some loneliness. missing people, if you couldn't see your relatives. There's a lot of emotions in December. And then something I've been noticing, actually in my professional readings, and I see this on the timeline too, there was no real completion for 2020. And I'm really glad I have an opportunity to talk to all of you tonight about this, because I've been seeing this in many of my sessions where there wasn't really anything great to grab onto to celebrate at the end of 2020. And we just kind of rolled into 2021, not really acknowledging a break between all of the trauma and drama that everybody went through in 2020. And what I'm seeing now is burnout from not having taken a moment at the end of the year to do some kind of completion of that cycle. So that was my inspiration for doing this healing tonight, was because I was aware that there was something that was not really completing last year, and it was causing people to not take a rest, not take a break, and then just continue to go on and get to the point where they didn't want to do anything. So if you've been experiencing that and feeling like, oh, I just can't get myself motivated to do anything, I really think it's because we didn't get a break after 2020 and everything just rolled right into the next year with the same amount of COVID, the same amount of distress. So I'm going to work on that right now in the healing. So how I'm going to do this for you so that it like completes the cycle is I'm going to mark you on December 31st, 2020 on your timeline and do the complete cycle for the year and fill you in on the last day of 2020. I'm filling you in with your validation for the things that you completed, the goals that you accomplished. If you forget to congratulate yourself for your accomplishments, in time, you will not want to do accomplishments because you won't find there's any validation for it. So it's really important after you complete doing something to take a moment and congratulate yourself for it, or at least acknowledge the parts of your mock-up that came in the way that you wanted them to, and then learn from what didn't come in the way you wanted it to, and then revise your mock-up the next time. There's something very calming about completing the year on the last day and completing the cycle. I just felt and heard like a collective from everybody just by completing that cycle at the end of the year. Now what I'm going to do is the healing from the first of the year to today. Now, in this month, we have the energy of anarchy. You don't see that prevalent too often. So I'm saying hello to anarchy, grounding that. That's a black energy. There's also the energy that I was just trying to talk to you about of like, oh God, I made it through 2020 and I'm exhausted as a result of it. So that energy is what I'm saying hello to right now. There's so much of the energy of mayhem coming out of everybody's space. It's a white, black, gray, kind of yucky colors. So you have listened to me for 30 minutes talk about some really nasty energies coming out. But here's the silver lining. When I look at this, what I see underlying all of that is phenomenal creative energy. And it's very bright and it glistens and it's just like looking at light. And that is what is underneath all of this junky junk that's been coming out. And I think that's important for me to remind you that that's the point of everything, is to get to the good stuff, to get to the gold. And so that's what I'm seeing right now. I'm going to start to collect your energy up from past, present, and future time and fill you in on the point marked today on your timeline. Great. I'm happy because I'm really excited because now you're in present time, and I'm very excited because next week we're going to do the second part of the healing in the sanctuary this month, and that is your next step healing. So brought you into present time, and next week we're going to work on clearing the doorway to your next steps for 2021. So you can go ahead and create a great big gold sun above your head. Fill yourself in. I already filled you in, but if you want to bring in a gold sun, go ahead. You can open your eyes and come on out of trance if you are in a trance. And I'm going to go ahead and close out the healing. May it be with the blessing of divinity that this healing for present time in the sanctuary be complete. Amen. All right, thank you. Thank you for joining me. I just want to tell you about the couple of events that are going to happen still this month. We have one in 2 days, and I'm going to do a Seek and You Will Find event, and that is where I'll answer questions. You just join the session, and you can text me or write in the chat screen your questions, and I'll answer your question with a healing answer. And when I do the healing, I actually do the healing for everybody that's on the call. So it's a great way to get an answer to a question and actually get some work done on it. So that's on Wednesday. And that is that you just have to register for. I've got another announcement going out tomorrow, so you can sign up through that. And then on Wednesday, oh, that is Wednesday, excuse me. Then next week is the Next Step Healing. That's going to be Tuesday night at 7 p.m. So I think that's it. I'll be coming out with an announcement for February coming up. I thought I had scheduled a women's intuition class this month, but I was wrong. So it's going to be on the 4th of February, and that's going to be on releasing responsibility. Yay! All right. So those are my announcements for tonight. I will see you on Tuesday. Got my eyes on you. Have a wonderful rest of the evening tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye-bye.